Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Backup and Synchronize functions of the Greek New Testament Study app. And since I'm going to show you how to synchronize multiple devices running the program, I've got two devices up here. I've got the program running in Windows, which is what I usually use when I demonstrate this, and then I've also got it running over here on Android. This is an Android emulator, and it's emulating a Google Pixel 6. So you'll notice we're on the vocabulary page, and right above the navigation bar is the Backup and Synchronize bar. But you'll also notice that if I click here, nothing happens. It's all grayed out. That's true over here on Android as well. The first thing you need to do if you want to backup or synchronize your devices is to create a backup account. And you do that by using the little blue gear icon down here in the Backup Synchronize panel. So I click on that gear icon. It takes me to the Create New Account dialog box, and I'm just going to click this button that says Create New Account. The program goes out to the backup server, creates an account, and notice it tells you, okay, it's made a backup. So your database has now been backed up, and you'll notice the Backup Synchronize button is highlighted. So now we can click on it, but also notice that it tells us it doesn't need to do anything. The program keeps track of what it's backed up and any changes you've made locally, so it knows when it needs to back up something. We could click on this button all day long. It's just going to tell us the same thing. Nothing needs to be backed up. So let's make a change so it needs to back up something. I'm going to go create a new vocabulary list. I'm going to give it the very clever name of New List. So now it's down here at the bottom. I'm going to drag it to the top. If none of this makes any sense to you, go watch the video on creating new vocabulary lists. So now we've made a change, and watch what happens when I click the Backup Synchronize button. It knows it, and it copies the data up to the server. So that's it. That's all you need to do. As long as after you make any changes, or just periodically, since the program will tell you if anything needs to happen, you just click the Backup and Synchronize button, then you'll always make sure you have a backup of your machine. That's super helpful for two main reasons. One, if you ever need to reinstall, you can pull all your old data down. You won't lose anything at all, any vocabulary you've studied, any changes you've made in the details page. And if that doesn't make sense to you, go watch the details video. All that is backed up so that you can restore it. So let's imagine we wanted to do that. Let's say we want to restore. Let's go over to our Android machine and pretend like our phone blew up and now we've had to reinstall. So we've reinstalled the program, but obviously it doesn't have this new list we just created. So again, our Backup Synchronize button isn't lit up because we don't have an account. We need to get a new account. But in this case, we don't want to make a completely new account. We actually want to connect to our existing account. So click again on the blue gear icon down here on the Backup Synchronize panel, and notice that below the Create a New Account, you have the option to connect to an existing account. To do that, you'll need to know the account ID and the password. Well, you probably don't know that since we didn't tell the program that. That's created automatically when you create a backup account. But you can find that information back on our original machine here on the left. Click on the blue icon again. Notice now it's different. It's not the Create New Account we see over on the Android machine. It's the Account Information dialog box. So here's your account ID and here's your password. Account IDs are numbers from 1,000 to 1,000,000, just randomly created, and passwords are also randomly created. They're 10 characters long. They're a mixture of upper and lowercase letters and numbers. So we need to enter this information in over here on this device. And how, you ask yourself, would you do that if your phone had blown up? Well, you definitely want to make a copy of this information. What I did on my phone when I did this originally was I took a screenshot of this and then emailed it to myself. So anytime I can access my email, I can access this account information. But once you've created a backup account, make a copy of this information. So let's go over here again on our phone and say, okay, we need to enter this account information. So here's our account ID, 647231. 647231. And here's our password. We need to enter in Y, capital Y, excuse me, capital C, 5, X, O, T, capital X, V, J, Q, and just to show you what happens, I'm not going to enter that Q in. I'm just going to leave it off. Now, when I click the connect button, notice it's going to tell me, nope, that's not a valid account. That's a problem. So sure enough, let's add that Q back and tell it to connect. And okay, now it's verified. So this is the right account name and password. And now it tells you you've been connected. Do you want to copy? And you don't have to, but I would definitely say yes most of the time. That's the point. So we're going to copy this. Now a copy from the backup server is going to be installed on our program here. And so you'll see as it installs this, you'll see we get our new list there. Now the data has been copied over, and there it is. We now have a copy. I'm going to go back to our original and click close. Now they've been copied. They've been synced. And again, if I click on the Backup Synchronize button on my phone, nothing happens because it knows we haven't changed. So this is how you can restore your information. Just click on the little blue gear icon. It'll tell you your account ID. Take a screenshot of it. Take a picture of it. Store it somewhere so you've got it when you need it. Now, let's talk about synchronizing. We've got two devices. I've got Windows on the left and my phone on the right. And we can use the backup to synchronize these devices. So on our phone, let's say we're going to study something. I'm going to light this up and say, oh, we're going to study these words. And I'm just going to randomly click through a couple here. So notice it tells me we have 40 remaining when I exit. So there's 45 words in there total, but we've studied 5 of them. Now we go back to vocabulary, click the button. It knows we've made changes. It copies them up to the server. Now over here, we haven't done any of that. So if I look at all words by frequency, nothing's lit up. And if I went in there, nothing would happen. So I'm going to click the backup button and it's going to say, oh, yeah, the server's newer than us. And it copies it down. Now when I click on all words, it knows we're studying them. And in fact, if I study, look, we're at 40. And so I could come here and I could study some more. And then I could get us down to say, oh, now we've got 35 left. Again, I'm going to go to the vocabulary page, click the Backup Synchronize button. It knows we've made changes. It copies it up. I come over here. I hit the backup button. It knows the data on the server is newer, and it's going to copy it on down to this device. Once it's copied all the information down, then I'm going to click on all words, go back to study again, and notice we're at 35. And I could study again. Let's say I take us down to 30. And I go back into the vocabulary page and I save it. This is how you want to synchronize your devices. Before you do any work, before you do any changes, click backup to make sure you have the most recent copy of the data. Then after you've made changes, after you've studied vocabulary or you've made any changes on the detail page, then click the backup button again. So your new changes all move up to the server. Because watch what happens if we don't do that. So right now, our phone is the newest. We studied on our phone and copied the data up to the server. I should press the backup button now to get the new copy. But let's say I forget and I come in here and I want to study. Notice it still says 35 because it doesn't know we've made those changes. We haven't backed up. But imagine I go through here a couple times and then I think, oh no, I didn't do it. So I exit, I go back out to vocabulary. Now what's going to happen when I click Backup Synchronize? Because what's on the server is newer than what's on this machine, but I've made changes to this machine. And so you'll see it knows that now we're out of sync. It knows that both the machines have changes that the other one doesn't. So it presents you with this option. You need to choose which machine needs to be primary. Do you want to copy what's on this machine up to the server? And that will erase your changes on the other machine when you do the backup. Or do you want to copy what's on the server down to this machine? You'll lose what you just did, but again, you'll be synced. And I know in this case that I shouldn't have started studying yet, so I'm going to copy from the server down to this device. As I copy it down, it transfers. Now if I go into all words by frequency and I say study, yep, there we are at 30. It knows that we've done this. So this is how you keep your various devices, and you could have as many of them as you wanted, all in sync. Before you make any changes, click the Backup Synchronize button to get the most recent copy. After you make changes, click it again to copy all of your changes up to the server. As long as you do that, you won't have any problems. If you forget, the program will know it and it'll tell you, and you'll have to choose. So now, just one last thing. Let's say, for instance, that you make a terrible, terrible mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and back up. Nope, it says this is all the same. Nothing needs to happen. Let's say I mean to delete the new list because there's not actually anything in there, but I accidentally delete all words by frequency. Oh no. Now, what am I going to do? Well, don't click the backup button, because that will copy that up to the server. It'll copy those changes and you'll lose what you've done. But if you go in here to your blue gear icon, notice this line at the bottom, choose direction of sync, next backup. I'm going to click that so it's enabled and then close. So I've just told the program, don't figure out what needs to happen, let me decide. And when I click backup, it's as if the programs are out of sync again. And I know I don't want to copy my data up. I just accidentally deleted something. I'm going to copy the server data back down to this machine because the server data still has my best data. And look, there it is. All words by frequency is back, and it's right where we left it. So let me strongly advise you, even if you're only using one device, to back up your device so that you can restore this in case you ever need to get it back from somewhere else, or you do decide you want to use it somewhere else. But I hope you find Backup and Synchronize helpful, and I hope this shows you how to use it.